Summary of After, done by Basmo.app. After is about Tessa Young, a studious 18-year-old girl who has always done everything right and lived life by the rules. She has the perfect grades, a wonderful long-term boyfriend, and a mother who raised her to be proper. Everything in her life is going according to her detailed plans, but all that is about to change as she leaves home for college. At college, she makes a new group of friends, unlike anyone she has in her life, and finds herself constantly stepping outside of her comfort zone. It is also there at college that she finds herself attracted to an English bad boy type by the name of Hardin. In a short amount of time, she finds herself uncontrollably involved and irresistibly drawn to him. Tessa sheds her good girl's skin and experiences love, lust, games, parties, alcohol, and a wild new life she never knew she would be living. Tessa, an innocent, inexperienced, and sheltered 18-year-old girl, is prim and proper in every single way, be it in the way she dresses, acts, interacts, thinks, dates, or just the way she lives in general. With an alcoholic father abandoning her as a child and having just her mother left to raise her alone, she was taught to do no wrong and to be as perfect as possible. Her mother has a sky-high set of expectations and rules for her to make sure she grows to be successful in life. As such, she has spent her whole life studying and planning for college while everyone her age was having fun and experimenting. She barely had any friends growing up and spent most weekends with either her mother or boyfriend. All the studying and planning paid off in the end though, for she was accepted into Washington Central University, where she will major in English. For the first time in her life, Tessa will be leaving home and living on her own in a dorm. When her mother and Noah dropped her off at college, they were surprised and unhappy about Tessa's roommate, for she was the complete opposite of Tessa. Unlike Tessa, who wore no makeup and dressed modestly, Steph wore a lot of makeup, far too little clothing, and was tattooed all over. The bigger shock was that she had two very tattooed boys in the dorm room with her upon their arrival. One of the boys introduced himself as Nate, while the other boy, Hardin, kept silent and didn't acknowledge anyone. Though he stayed quiet and aloof, Tessa couldn't help but stare at him. She found him interesting and attractive, though she would never admit that to anyone, and especially not to Noah and her mother. Despite their obvious differences, Steph and Tessa eventually became good friends. She even invited Tessa to come along to a party, and as expected, Tessa turned her down immediately. Parties weren't Tessa's idea of fun, and she would much rather stay in her room to read or talk to Noah. That's exactly what she would have ended up doing if not for Hardin's goading. He made fun of Steph for even asking Tessa along, because everyone already knew that Tessa was a goody two-shoes that doesn't party or drink. His words triggered something in Tessa, and she wanted to prove him wrong, so she agreed to go. At the party, Tessa met more of Steph's friend group and learned things that shocked her. She accidentally walked in on Hardin making out with a girl named Molly. She saw Steph dancing sexually in a drunken state with random boys atop a table, and she learned that their group enjoys playing truth or dare. Tessa literally falls in love with the boy next door, Noah, that she grew up with. Noah was there when Tessa's father left. In fact, he had always been there for her through everything. As the years passed, their connection developed from friendship to a romantic relationship. They had been together for about 2 years as a couple when Tessa headed off to college. Despite being that close to Noah, she had never had any sexual encounters or experiences with him. They had talked about it and decided to wait until marriage to have sex. Tessa and Noah didn't have an exciting relationship, but a safe, comfortable, and trusting one. They knew each other in every way and had planned an entire future together. Tessa's mother adores Noah, and they're very close as well. However, Noah's a year younger than Tessa and will only join her at WCU the following year. During one of the many parties she attended, Tessa had alcoholic drinks for the first time ever as a dare. Hardin tried to stop them from making her drink, but his attempt only made her want to do it more. When he told her she's had enough, she drank more. That's the effect that he had on her. The more he tried to get in her way or stop her, the more she wanted to do something. They didn't get along and they frustrated each other. As the game went on, Molly dared Hardin to kiss Tessa and she ran out. She would not hurt Noah because of some stupid game. Yet she kept wondering if Hardin would actually have done it, and she kept wondering about what the kiss would have felt like. Others might think that they truly dislike one another, but in reality, they're both extremely attracted to each other. Tessa finally got the courage to ask him why he hated her so much and treated her the way he did. He shared what he thought, that she was too uptight, dressed too modestly, and that she probably had the perfect parents, perfect house, and everything she could ever want in life. In short, he was irritated by what she stood for. Being mad, she went back to the party and had more drinks. As she didn't drive, she had to stay over in a room in the frat house that Hardin stayed in. While she was asleep, a strange guy came onto her in bed. She ran from him to the only place she could, Hardin's room. For the first time since they met, Hardin was nice to her and comforted her. Even as the kiss was going on, Tessa knew she would never be the same again. Tessa and Hardin develop a very hot and cold, push and pull type of relationship. They're undeniably in love with each other but continue to deny it. For Tessa, her reason was Noah, despite cheating on him countless times. For Hardin, his reason was that he didn't do relationships. He sleeps around with a lot of girls but never gets serious. He's the ultimate detached, rule-breaking bad boy who can't be controlled. Steph advised Tessa to stay away from Hardin, saying that he's a guy to have fun with but not to be in a relationship with. No matter how badly Hardin treats Tessa, she keeps going back for more. She's drawn to him in a way that makes her break rules, be reckless, not plan, and just give into situations as they occur. Every single time Hardin and Tessa spend time together, they get more physically intimate. Eventually, Hardin spilled the beans to Noah about these experiences, and Tessa became single. They eventually give in to their feelings and decide to give being in a relationship a shot. When they're together, Tessa and Hardin tend to have a great time. There was one big problem that they can't seem to ever overcome, and that's the fact that Hardin still acts like he's single when he's not around Tessa. He doesn't tell anyone in his friend group that Tessa is his girlfriend or that he's no longer sleeping around. At parties, he still lets Molly hang all over him as though nothing has changed. Tessa can't deal with this, for she has only ever had a relationship with Noah. With Noah, she was always sure where she stood. She knew he always put her first and made sure everyone knew he was taken. Hardin is nothing like Noah, and Tessa wishes he could be like that when it came to their relationship. When she confronted Hardin about his behavior, he always got defensive and attacked her using anything he could. Their relationship was a tough one for many reasons, but mainly because it was hard for Tessa to get Hardin to let his guard down and let her in. Hardin and Tessa bumped into Hardin's father, Ken, during one of their dates. Ken invited them over to his house for dinner, which Hardin rejected but Tessa accepted. Tessa knew that Hardin hated his father and that his father had a new fiancée he was about to marry. It took Hardin a really long time, but he finally shared with Tessa that not only did his father leave, but he was also the reason why his mother was assaulted. Hardin was mad because his mother had to suffer through the bad, but Ken simply gets to start a new life with a new wife. With this explanation, Tessa understood why Hardin is who he is. She understands why he always pushes people away, gets drunk, has nightmares, and won't let anyone in. He didn't answer everything, but it answered a whole lot. It also changed her opinion of Ken. Hardin did end up going with Tessa to that family dinner at Ken's. He wasn't civil or happy the entire time, but he did show up. It meant a lot to Ken's fiancée, Karen, who was a sweet and loving lady. Tessa developed a relationship with Karen, for she never had a maternal figure that she could talk to and actually spend quality time with. Her own mother was strict and full of judgment. The time that Tessa spent with her mother needed to be productive rather than fun, whereas, with Karen, it could be meaningful. As Tessa grew closer to Karen, she spent more time over at the house. She even started helping Karen with her greenhouse. For as much of a detailed planner as Tessa is, there are some things in life you just can't plan for. If things were to go according to plan, Tessa would only lose her virginity to Noah after marriage during their honeymoon on an island somewhere. However, nothing has been going according to plan since Tessa came to college. Nothing has been going according to plan since she met Hardin. Instead of after marriage on an island, Tessa loses her virginity in her small dorm room at WCU. Instead of with Noah, it's with Hardin. Despite it not being a part of her plan, she was certain it was the right decision. She never wanted it this way when she was with Noah. For the first time since they started dating, Tessa wasn't jealous or worried about all the other girls in his life anymore. She finally stopped questioning her place in his life. He was hers, and it was only with her that he made love for once rather than simply have sex without attachments. Hardin and Tessa spent almost every night together, either in her dorm room or in his room at the frat house. They couldn't get enough of each other and couldn't bear to spend too much time apart. There were always so many parties going on at the frat house, and the people there played too many dangerous games. Hardin hated the idea that someone could hurt or get to Tessa. It wasn't long before he proposed that the two of them should move in together into an apartment away from campus, where they can have all the privacy in the world. She wanted to say yes so badly from the start, but was reluctant because she knew they had only been dating for a short while and that they were too young to make such a big commitment. After a bad experience at the frat house and going to see the place Hardin picked out, she finally said yes. She was certain that the kind of love like theirs could work through anything and sustain everything. They've never been this happy together or gotten along without fighting for so long. All seemed well until the day Tessa's mother showed up and announced. She was furious with Tessa. She didn't even know Tessa had broken up with Noah and was dating Hardin. She had no idea what went on in her own daughter's life. Moreover, she completely disapproved of Tessa's relationship with Hardin. She believed him to be a horrible influence in Tessa's life, and she was certain that Tessa would regret her decision one day. She knew it wasn't right as she was saying it, but she told her mother to stop trying to control her just because she couldn't control her father. Angered by this, her mother slapped her. Just like that, Tessa severed her relationship with her mother over Hardin, even though she knew her mother had sacrificed so much for her since her father left. She simply needed the space to make her own mistakes in life. One night, Hardin didn't come home and Tessa was worried. When he finally did the following day with cuts and bruises, he didn't bother to explain. Tessa knew he was out doing something he wasn't supposed to, and she became mad. She knew he was still keeping things from her, and they were moving backwards once again. She couldn't make him tell her things, and she needed to know. Tessa found Steph at a bar and learned that none of Hardin's friends knew they were living together. He hadn't told anyone about it. As Tessa was about to leave to go back to their apartment, Molly made a joke about how far Hardin has taken their game. Being confused, Tessa demanded to know what she was talking about. It turns out that they had a bet going on whether Hardin or Zed could get Tessa to lose her virginity, with money as a prize for the winner. They went on to talk about how they couldn't believe Hardin won, despite him showing them the condom and sheets with her blood on it. In an attempt to escape the crowd and craziness, Tessa went into a random room she found. It was full of books, many of which she loved. She started reading and was lost in the story when Hardin came barging in. He was mad because she was in his room and he didn't allow anyone to be in his room. He had told her so already previously. They had a fight and Tessa decided that Hardin was the biggest jerk of all time, except she couldn't stop thinking about the books in his room and why he had them at all. It was so unlike him to enjoy reading. Hardin was such a puzzling creature for Tessa, she was both frustrated and enticed at the same time. Tessa swore she was done with Hardin and even started going out with another guy from their friend group named Zach. That's when Hardin finally admits to Tessa that she's the only person he loves and she realizes that she loves Hardin in an uncontrollable, unstoppable way herself. She would always be his no matter what. She could run away or see someone else but she'd always come back to him when he needed her. Hardin promises to try and be what Tessa needs in a partner. As a result of Tessa spending so much time with Karen, Hardin was also over quite a bit. He had gone from avoiding that house to being there very often. He also started to interact with Ken every so often, despite it being awkward and brief. It took a lot of convincing on Tessa's part, but Hardin finally agreed to attend Karen and Ken's wedding with her. They had a good time at the wedding. Tessa met Hardin's grandmother, who hasn't seen or spoken to him since he was a child. Ken shared with them he never thought it a possibility to see Hardin doing this well, while Karen attributed all of Hardin's positive changes to Tessa's influence and thanked her for what she has done for their family.